Hey AI and hello, welcome back to another one. Just this past day it was New Music Friday, and lots of big names released brand new albums, one of which being one of my favorite bands of recent times, Turnstile.
Now my heart is hanging by a thread. Now my heart is hanging by a thread.
American hardcore punk band Turnstile is a band that spent their fair share of time within the genre and culture that is harbored by the genre, from tiny venues to slightly less tiny venues. Turnstile kept it up, releasing two heavy hitters within the Baltimore hardcore scene, from 2015's Nonstop Feeling and then 2018's Time and Space. However, it wouldn't be until the early 2020s when Turnstile began to receive non-stop radio rotation on rock radio for sudden breakout hits like Holiday and Mystery. This led into an even more widely successful and acclaimed third album, Glow On, in 2021. Since the release of Glow On, the band has been constantly making noise by playing huge festivals and touring on almost every single continent since. However, many fans began to speculate an end to new music after lineup turmoil within the band, as well as having been almost 4 whole years with no signs of new music. Just as these discussions of a possible end began, though, the new beginning of Turnstile began with the announcement of 2025's Glow Up follow-on, Never Enough. The band found their startings and most devoted fans through their hardcore punk sound. However, many of their newer fans love Turnstile instead for their more melodic take on that genre. Turnstile was left at a hard-to-fill crossroad between each of these sounds and fan bases going into the release of this album, and that crossroad is something I, worryingly, anticipated might hinder the sound of this new album. But as I should have suspected, Turnstile saw no obstacle and made the album they wanted to make all along. Never Enough begins with a heartfelt title track that pays homage to the sound of Glow On very largely, with a melodic chorus, well-produced guitars and drums sounding like something that could easily be played in a huge stadium, as well as an electrifying guitar solo. However, the track's ending is when I realized that this album would be something unlike anything they've ever done, and something that's truly special, not just something that tied the fans over. Never Enough, the title track, had an almost 2-minute long ambient outro sequence with ascending synths and walls of ambience, which gradually built up to a perfect transition into the extremely heavy riff of the next track, Soul, that had me banging my head so hard I almost paralyzed myself from spinal damage. The drums on this track, as well as other heavier songs from the album, don't hold back at all for fans that came for the new melodic sounds. They keep up the notorious drum work of Daniel Fang with huge sounding drums at an extremely fast and aggressive tempo, no matter the sound of the rest of the song accompanying it. The snare in specific has a unique punch to it that makes me get instantly engaged with every song on this whole album. As I mentioned previously though, Turnstile was left at a crossroad between their old hardcore sound and the new, more melodic alternative rock sound. Rather than sloppily choosing one or the other though, Turnstile chose to cleverly blend the sound in a similar fashion to how they did it on their previous album, rather with more of an emphasis on atmosphere. Every song on this album, whether it has a more hardcore sound or a melodic sound, eventually falls back on these clean, airy guitar parts, hi-hats, and synths that build up a soft, ocean-like atmosphere to match the blue album cover, possibly. The move to creating a more thorough sound that carries on throughout the entire album is a huge benefit to this record over the previous, which honestly felt at points like it just jumped back and forth in sound. That's not something I felt at all for this album. My favorite song off this new album, though, is the adventurous and experimental Look Out For Me. Look Out For Me is over 6.5 minutes long, a feat Turnstile is completely foreign to. The song begins like any Turnstile anthem with powerful drum and bass parts, echoey vocals, and stripped back guitars until a powerful explosive entrance. This song in particular capitalizes on that formula over any other Turnstile song I've ever heard. The way singer Brendan Yates explodes into the song and riff with the sentence, "Now my heart is hanging by a thread," is a moving line, especially with the way he intonates it, that it gave me massive chills the first time I heard it. Towards the second half of the track's runtime, the band goes fully experimental though, playing with sound effects and drum and bass chops before a simple ringing takes the song home. Overall, Turnstile's new album, Never Enough, slightly falls short from their previous album in my opinion, due to there not being as many huge tracks that stand out above everything else. However, as a whole album experience, they certainly expanded on their past works thoroughly. The atmospheric vibe this album creates was nothing I expected to hear from Turnstile, and is something I believe they have already perfected here, and I'm so excited to see if they keep this up going forward. I give Never Enough a light 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. Let me know down below your favorite song from this album, and if you even like the album at all. And also let me know what you've been listening to recently, as I know there's many great new releases like the new McKinley Dixon as well as the new Addison Rae album. That's all for now though, and I will see you all next time.